Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we are undertaking what I think is a really critical mission, a deep dive into social mastery. We're tackling that skill, the one that really underpins your career success, the depth of your relationships, your influence overall. Our goal today, to help move you beyond feeling maybe awkward or even just fine to being genuinely influential, effortlessly charismatic. We synthesize psychological research, behavioral science, and importantly, step-by-step systems. We want to give you a concrete, immediately usable action plan for, authentic connection.
And we absolutely have to start by establishing the stakes here, the real financial and professional stakes. See, most people tend to view social skills as sort of a nice-to-have, like an optional bonus. That is a dangerous mistake. Seriously dangerous.
It really is. It's one of those brutal truths hidden in plain sight, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Our research highlighted these cumulative, unseen costs of being socially, unskilled. And these aren't just minor slip-ups at parties. We're talking about life-altering losses.
Exactly. Missed promotions, consistently being overlooked for leadership roles. Or there was this one really startling anecdote we found. It was about costing yourself a massive business opportunity. You read about an investor, right? He was looking to acquire the small, technically brilliant one-man company, the owner. Undoubtedly skilled technically, but his attitude, abrasive, kind of arrogant, just lacked that social polish, and it immediately put the buyer off.
Wow. So what happened?
The investor just canceled the acquisition, walked away.
Oof.
And that owner, he'll probably never know, never realize that his inability to manage a first impression or just conduct a respectful, open conversation cost him a seven-figure payday.
That's definitive proof right there. Your ability to connect, to persuade, to build genuine rapport. It really is the single greatest competitive advantage you can possibly possess.
And here's the really inspiring part, I think. Confidence, charisma, social fluency. These aren't innate gifts. They're not just for the lucky few. They're skills, like any other skill. They can be learned, practiced, and mastered with the same kind of rigor you'd apply to learning, martial arts or playing the piano or complex engineering.
That's such a key point. Think about performers who seem so effortless, like top comedians.
Yeah.
Someone like Chris Rock, maybe. He delivers an hour of what looks like completely off-the-cuff brilliance. But that effortlessness, it's the result of months, like maybe 6 months or more of just brutal, rigorous testing.
Refining jokes in small clubs.
Exactly. Testing timing, word choice, delivery.
Yeah.
Practicing that hour-long set hundreds of times until it feels completely natural on stage. You can absolutely apply that same dedication, that same rigor to mastering conversation.
So here's the journey we've mapped out for you today. We're starting right at the foundation, the mindset shift you need. Then we'll move into the practical techniques, how to have dynamic, engaging dialogue. Crucially, we're going to address those psychological barriers, the things that stop most people cold. And finally, we'll synthesize all these tools. We'll look at the 7 unspoken rules of effortless charm, especially for those high-stakes communication moments.
Okay, let's unpack this first step. And honestly, it's probably counterintuitive for anyone who thinks, I need to be the life of the party. The core secret to being genuinely interesting isn't delivering witty monologues. It's mastering the skill of truly listening. There's a specialized practice for this, right? It's called active listening.
That's right. And active listening, it's not some new fad. It was formally introduced way back in 1957. Psychologists Carl Rogers and Richard Ferson defined it. They saw it as the deliberate, conscious opposite of passive listening.
Okay, so passive listening is just waiting for your turn to talk.
Pretty much, yeah. Whereas active listening is engaging with the clear intent to understand the other person fully, completely.
And the difference sounds, profound. Active listening requires deliberate engagement, you said, to fully grasp the speaker's intended message.
Yes, and it's not just their words. You're listening for the nonverbal cues, too. Their emotional tone, the underlying intent. What are they really trying to say?
The stakes are high here, then.
Incredibly high. The ultimate goal of this deliberate practice is achieving mutual understanding. You want to eliminate misunderstandings, and maybe most importantly, create that fundamental sense of psychological safety, of belonging. Think about it when someone feels truly heard. Research confirms it promotes immediate trust. It dramatically enhances emotional connection. In personal life, professional life, everywhere.
Okay, so if this is a deliberate skill, we need an action plan. How do we do active listening? Let's break down the fundamental pillars of the technique. These are the steps you actually need to follow, right? Sequentially, to make sure you capture and confirm the message.
Exactly. The first pillar is comprehension. achieving shared meaning. Now, most people think they comprehend.
But they usually fall short.
They usually fall short, yeah. We need to differentiate between two strategic listening methods, and you need to be able to consciously switch between them.
Okay, what are they?
The first is bottom-up listening. This requires close attention to the raw data, the specific words they emphasize or maybe repeat, the details the speaker highlights. Think of it like gathering the individual puzzle pieces.
Okay, give me an example.
All right, let's say your colleague mentions repeatedly, "We missed the deadline because the testing phase." The testing phase was completely underestimated. Your bottom-up listening focuses precisely on testing phase and underestimated. Those are the key data points.
Got it. Collecting the details. So what's the other one?
The opposite, and equally necessary, is top-down listening. This is more about anticipating the overall message, trying to organize what's being communicated in your head. You're listening specifically for summaries or shifts in the topic. Top-down listening is where you start building the outline of their argument.
Okay, so if I'm practicing top-down listening with that same colleague, I'd be trying to build a mental outline. Thinking maybe, okay, I hear the main concern is the delay, but is the real blocker the budget? Or maybe lack of clarity about roles. I'm looking for the big picture, the forest, not just the trees.
Precisely. You're essentially mentally preparing to teach their message back to them, to summarize it. And it's crucial here that comprehension includes cultural sensitivity, paying attention to context, preferred language, specific communication norms. You need to ensure your interpretation is respectful and accurate.
Okay, pillar 1, comprehension. Makes sense. What's pillar 2?
Pillar 2 is retaining. Because even if you comprehend the message perfectly in the moment, if you can't remember the key elements later, the conversation, well, it just dies. Or you miss crucial follow-up opportunities.
Our memory isn't always reliable, is it?
Notoriously fallible. And here's a cognitive block most people aren't aware of. Our brains can process information much, much faster than people usually speak. That mental gap, that extra processing power, that's where the mind wanders.
Right, thinking about lunch or what I need to do later.
Exactly. So to counter this and actually retain information better, you have to actively assign meaning to what's being said. Relate it to something you already know. Use mental repetition. Crucially, maintain consistent visual contact. It helps anchor the information. And communicate back and forth about the topic. Engage with it. If you're just passively receiving, you won't retain it.
Okay, so comprehension, retaining. This leads us to the third pillar. You said this one is maybe the most crucial for confirming connection.
Yes, responding. This is the moment you confirm that the comprehension and retaining stages actually worked, and it follows a specific 3-step order. This order is designed for maximum clarity and rapport.
All right, 3 steps. What's step 1?
Step 1, paraphrase. Explain what you believe the speaker said, but in your own words. And crucially, without adding judgment or correction.
That's where people often go wrong, isn't it? Jumping straight to advice or correction. Well, actually, what you should have done was...
Exactly, that shuts things down. Active paraphrasing is purely about ensuring alignment. So, if I'm hearing you right, the main issue was the underestimation of the testing phase.
Okay, paraphrase first. Step 2.
Step 2, clarify. Now that you've confirmed the general message, make sure you have complete understanding. Ask open-ended follow-up questions. Just to make sure I've got this, are you saying the deadline itself is the primary issue, or is it more about the resource allocation for testing?
Using their words like testing phase, but asking for more detail.
Right. And step 3, summarize. Offer a concise overview of the main points and the intent of the message you received. This final step is often overlooked, but it's powerful. It ends a segment of conversation cleanly. It signals, okay, I've got it, I'm ready to move on, or I'm committed to these next steps we discussed.
This whole process, comprehend, retain, respond with, paraphrase, clarify, summarize it, sounds very disciplined, intentional.
It is.
And you can see how it promotes immense trust. Our sources mention that in high-stakes situations like negotiations, active listening is seen as just as crucial as talking, maybe even more so.
Absolutely, because it assures the other party you're genuinely setting aside your own agenda, at least for a moment, and considering their viewpoint. It's the ultimate tool for breaking deadlocks and fostering genuine goodwill. Okay, so with that foundation of listening firmly in place, the next crucial step is, well, it's making a radical shift in your mindset. We need to move you from being just a passive recipient of information to being a charismatic connector.
And this is where it gets really interesting, I think. There's a philosophy required here, isn't there? It's captured perfectly by that famous historical anecdote, the one about the two British political rivals, Gladstone and Disraeli.
Yes. Running for Prime Minister, 1852. William Gladstone and Benjamin Disraeli. The story goes, a reporter interviewed both men back to back, trying to gauge their character. After meeting Gladstone, the reporter left thinking he, Gladstone, was the cleverest, most eloquent person in England.
Impressive, sure. But
after meeting Disraeli, the reporter left thinking she was the cleverest person in England.
And Disraeli won the election.
Disraeli won. The lesson for us is profound. The goal isn't to impress people with your wit or your knowledge. The goal is to make them feel impressive. You have to be deeply, genuinely interested in others to become interesting yourself. This mindset shift. It's about using your questions to feed your genuine curiosity about the actual human being standing in front of you.
Which leads us directly to the most practical tool for driving conversation forward, right? Mastering open-ended questions. We have to move beyond that dead-end small talk, the kind that just invites one-word answers.
Exactly. Think about the difference. Asking, did you have a good weekend? It's a conversational death trap.
Fine.
And silence. Right. Instead, you need questions that demand content. The goal is to focus on experience, opinion, and attitude, not just factual data. So instead of, where do you work, which is just data.
Try. What's one thing you find surprisingly motivating about your work? Or maybe, what was the best part of your weekend? Something that requires thought.
Exactly. And the intent behind the question, that matters almost more than the question itself. You have to ask questions you couldn't possibly know the answer to. And do it with the genuine intent of letting the other person talk, explore their thoughts. Most importantly, you have to let go of any urge to judge them or criticize or immediately steer their narrative back to you. If you're truly interested, they feel that curiosity and they open up.
It's amazing how simple follow-ups can be so powerful, too. If someone shares an opinion, just that innocent little question, how come?
Oh, how come is gold. It can open a huge floodgate of personal reasoning, stories, values. You can also make asking questions less threatening, maybe more fun, by using creative scales.
Right, instead of just on a scale of 1 to 10.
Yeah, which is a bit bland. Inject some personality, some specificity. Try. Okay, on a scale of 1 to Captain America, how excited are you about this new project? Or, for a different crowd. On a scale of 1 to the end of a really long negotiation, how relieved were you when that meeting finally finished?
That makes it more evocative, more fun. It prompts a more detailed, less guarded response. Okay, let's talk about some more advanced conversational cues, things that take the dialogue to the next level of connection. The first one is reflecting emotion.
Yes. Reflecting emotion means actively identifying the speaker's underlying feelings. And these might be clearly expressed, or they might be quite subtle, and then you respond in a way that validates that emotional state. Because often people need empathy before they need solutions.
Okay, so if a colleague says maybe, ugh, I had such a chaotic week, instead of jumping in with, oh, you should try using this project management software.
Right, you pause. You reflect the feeling first. Wow, that sounds incredibly frustrating, really draining.
You establish that empathy first.
Exactly. You mirror their feeling back to them. I sense you were really excited about that outcome, or it sounds like you felt pretty let down by that decision. This simple act, it strengthens the bond immediately because it shows you're engaging with their interior life, not just the data points they're giving you.
That makes sense. What's the second advanced cue? You mentioned this is one of your favorites for rapport building.
Ah, yes. Echoing or parroting. Now, this sounds simple, but it's powerful. It involves using the exact words or phrases the other person just used, using them in your responses and follow-up questions.
Okay, give me an example.
All right. Say someone is talking about their new electric car, and they call it their new spaceship.
Okay.
Instead of saying, oh, how's the range on your new car? You reply, cool. So how's the range on that spaceship?
Ah, using their specific word. Spaceship.
Exactly. This is a direct application of something called communication accommodation theory, or CTAT. It's a subtle but really powerful social mechanism. When you mirror their vocabulary or maybe their pacing, their linguistic style, instead of always translating it into your standard words, it facilitates communication, and critically, it signals social approval. Unconsciously.
Wait a second, though. Doesn't parroting risk sounding, I don't know, like you aren't actually listening?
Yeah.
Or worse, like you're mocking them? How do you use their language without sounding like, well, a mockingbird?
That's the fine line, absolutely. The difference is intent and quantity. If you just repeat every third word they say, yeah, you're going to sound creepy or robotic. But if you notice they use a specific piece of jargon, or they have a unique descriptor for something like spaceship for a car, and you adopt that descriptor just once or twice, naturally, it signals immediate unconscious alignment. You're essentially saying, I get it. I accept your worldview, your vocabulary, and that alignment leads to dramatically more favorable social outcomes because they feel subconsciously like you're automatically on their team.
Okay, we've given you plenty of mechanics now, the listening, the questioning, the echoing, but this is where, honestly, I think most listeners hit a wall. Many people try these techniques, right? They try the active listening, the open questions, and they quickly stop because it feels fake. They feel like they're performing a social skill instead of genuinely being themselves. So where is the line between using a technique and losing your sense of self?
This is such a common stumbling block. We call it the authenticity paradox. And we really have to critically examine the premise there. The idea that the less skilled, maybe more anxious version of you is automatically the more authentic one. Think about it. If you've never trained in something, your untrained state is certainly authentic, but is it necessarily your best self or the self you want to be?
That's a really good point. We train for everything else in life, don't we? We practice driving, we practice presentation skills, but somehow we expect social skills to just magically appear fully formed.
Right. Think of it like learning to ski or maybe learning martial arts. When you first start, the movements feel clumsy,
Right.
forced, yeah, maybe even manipulative because you're thinking so hard about it. You're consciously thinking about every single step. Okay, turn my hips, shift my weight, remember to breathe. That phase is the conscious performance of a skill.
Okay.
But after repetition, after hours and hours, maybe years of training, the skill becomes automatic. It becomes intuitive. It gets internalized. It becomes muscle memory.
So the technique stops being a conscious step-by-step process, and it just becomes part of your reflexive, automatic behavior, like tying your shoes.
Exactly. That's when you truly become authentically skilled. Authenticity isn't about avoiding technique. It's about practicing until the technique becomes second nature, part of who you are.
That reframes it completely. Okay, but before we reach that intuitive stage, we need to tackle the psychological barriers, the things that actively sabotage our conversations while we're learning. These are the listening blocks, you call them, the things we do internally that stop us from truly connecting.
Yes, and they're very common. The first barrier is filtering. This happens when you only focus on what you expect to hear, or maybe what confirms your existing biases, and you actively, unconsciously tune out anything else. So if you walk into a discussion assuming a client is going to be difficult, you'll probably only hear the negative cues. You'll miss the openings, the opportunities for compromise.
Okay, filtering. What's the second block? You said this one is a universal killer of connection.
Ah, yes. Rehearsing. This is when you're so fixated on preparing your own brilliant response. You know, your next clever line, your devastating counter argument.
Been there.
We all have. You stop absorbing what the speaker is saying right now. You might be physically present, nodding along, but cognitively you've left the room. You're backstage polishing your witty retort.
Yeah, completely disconnected. Okay, and the third block. We touched on this earlier, didn't we?
We did. It's advising. Jumping immediately into problem-solving mode. A lot of people, especially maybe analytical types, mistake empathy for consultation. Someone says, wow, I'm really overwhelmed by my schedule, and the immediate reply is, oh, you need to download this app right now.
When maybe they just wanted someone to say, wow, that sounds really tough.
Exactly. You haven't given them what they might have really wanted first, which was connection and validation. This advising block, it often creates pressure. It can shut down vulnerability because they didn't ask for a solution yet.
Filtering, rehearsing, advising. Got it. Things to watch out for in ourselves.
Yeah.
Now, let's move to some practical tools. You mentioned ways to overcome shyness and actively build confidence. Because confidence is a skill we can practice too, right?
Absolutely. It's not fixed. The first tool is something we call the invisibility cloak technique.
Okay, intriguing. How did that work?
It's a simple but really powerful mental shift. It's rooted in behavioral psychology. When you walk into a situation that feels uncomfortable, maybe a networking event, a difficult meeting, you consciously decide on the external behavior you want to project. You ask yourself, if I were already confident right now, what would I be doing?
So you're focusing on the actions of a confident person.
Precisely. You imagine you're wearing this cloak, right? It instantly makes you feel confident. Or maybe more accurately, it covers up your anxiety just enough for you to act. You aren't changing your core values. You're just saying, okay, For the next hour, I will be the gregarious, friendly person who takes up a bit of space and speaks clearly.
But, yeah, doesn't that feel like, high-level acting? Is there a danger that if you rely too much on the cloak, you lose touch with your real feelings underneath?
That's the common concern, but here's the beauty of it. The external drives the internal. It's a feedback loop. By consciously enacting the desired external posture, smiling more, slowing your speech, making eye contact, your internal attitude actually starts to shift over time. It begins to match your conscious behavior. You're essentially using technique to bypass that initial wave of shyness and gradually rewire your emotional response in those situations.
Okay, fake it till you become it, but with a specific behavioral plan. I like it. What's the second technique? You mentioned making confidence building a game.
Yes, making it a measurable game is incredibly effective because it removes that internal pressure of, oh no, I must succeed socially, and replaces it with a much more objective pressure. I just need to complete the challenge. It lowers the stakes emotionally.
Okay, give us the games.
We have two for you to try immediately. First, the 60 seconds game. The rule is, within 60 seconds of walking into any public space, a meeting room, a coffee shop, a party, go up to someone and introduce yourself, or just make a simple comment. The rule is strictly 60 seconds.
Why 60 seconds specifically?
Because that's usually the window before your anxiety has time to fully kick in and solidify. If you wait 5 minutes, standing by the wall, your brain has already cooked up 17 excellent reasons why approaching that person is a terrible, potentially humiliating idea. By forcing rapid action, you bypass that internal resistance committee. And remember, a successful play of the game isn't dependent on the outcome of the conversation. It's simply dependent on completing the approach within the 60 seconds. Check. Done.
Lowers the bar for success. Okay, game 1. 60 seconds. What's game 2?
Game 2 is the compliments game. Challenge yourself. Give 3 genuine, specific compliments within a 24-hour period. And the key words there are genuine and specific. Don't just say, hey, nice shoes.
Be specific.
Yeah.
Those shoes are a fantastic shade of blue. They really pull that whole outfit together.
Exactly. Specificity is the difference between a throwaway line and genuine connection. A generic compliment is easily forgotten. A sincere, specific one. It creates a lasting, positive impression, and it instantly generates a positive reaction in both you and the recipient, which, guess what, makes the next social interaction feel that much easier. It builds momentum. Okay, we need to face something here. One of our sources called it the spinach in the teeth problem.
Okay, what's that?
It's the idea that if your social skills are missing the mark, if you have some subtle, unconscious behavior that's off-putting, nobody is going to tell you. You might be walking around talking too fast or having distracting mannerisms or always standing with closed-off posture, things that are subtly alienating people. And you have absolutely no idea why interactions aren't clicking. You've got social spinach in your teeth, and no one points it out.
Ouch. That's why being proactive about seeking feedback and developing self-awareness is so essential then. I actually had to learn this the hard way myself. Years ago, prepping for some big scholarship interviews, I thought I was coming across as gregarious, friendly. But then I videotaped a mock interview, and I was horrified. I realized I basically never smiled. I looked stiff, serious, almost humorless.
Wow.
Yeah. And that crucial missing feedback, just smile more, was a major barrier to opportunity that I would never have noticed on my own.
That's a perfect example. And this proactive mindset, it absolutely has to extend to group conversations. The typical wallflower approach, just standing back, expecting to be entertained, or maybe hoping the most charismatic person will eventually notice you, it's completely ineffective. It leaves the impression you make entirely up to chance, and it just allows anxiety to build and take hold. You have to take control. You need to decide how people will remember you after that interaction.
Okay, so how do we proactively engage a group? What are the tips?
Tip 1, brainstorm topics. Do not rely on spontaneous brilliance in the moment, especially if groups make you anxious. Prepare a short list of trending, widely accessible topics before you go to the event. People generally love talking about what other people are talking about. It feels safe and relevant. Check the major news headlines. A viral social media trend, maybe. A recent big cultural event, sports, awards shows, whatever.
So you have these in your back pocket.
Exactly. These prepared topics become instant, low-risk icebreakers. Instead of defaulting to awkward silence or, God forbid, the weather, you can jump into a lull and say something like, hey, did anyone see that ridiculous story about the new Marvel casting controversy? What's everyone's take on that kind of fan pressure?
Okay. It invites people in.
Right. It encourages people to chime in. Oh, yeah, I saw that. It was crazy. Or, no, tell me more. And boom, you've effectively started a dynamic group discussion. And importantly, you've taken the active, engaging role.
Okay. Brainstorm topics. Good one. Tip 2.
Tip 2, plan your impression. Ask yourself beforehand, how do I want to leave people feeling after they talk to me? Do you want them to feel happy, entertained, maybe smarter or challenged? Or perhaps you need to come across as professional and reliable in this context.
So you decide on the desired outcome first.
Yes, because once you plan the desired impression, you can prepare the material accordingly. If you want to make people laugh, okay, have a couple of appropriate, maybe tested anecdotes or short jokes ready, nothing too elaborate. If you want to appear intelligent or informed, maybe put together a few interesting fun facts related to the event's theme or the industry you're in. You can drop them in casually. This removes the guesswork. It takes away the pressure of trying to be spontaneously brilliant when you might be feeling stressed.
Prepare your material based on your intended impact. Makes sense. Now let's talk about maximizing physical presence, because the research is pretty clear, isn't it? Our body language communicates so much, maybe up to 80% more about our feelings and intentions than our actual words do. You use a technique for this, right? A checklist.
Yes, we use the SETHI technique. It's just a quick 5-point checklist you can run through in your head for immediate physical presence adjustment. SETHI.
Okay, break it down for us. S.
S stands for smile. And not a fake, strained grin, a genuine smile. One that reaches your eyes, the Duchenne smile. People naturally trust, gravitate toward, and just feel safer around those who offer a genuine smile. Even if you just start by practicing a slight, warm, upward curve of the lips, it actually changes the internal feedback loop in your own brain, too.
Okay, S for smile.
E. E is for energy. Whatever energy level you think you naturally exhibit, add about 50% more. Especially in a professional or social setting where first impressions matter. So if you feel like you're normally at a 4 out of 10, push yourself consciously to a 6.
50% more. That sounds like a lot. Won't I seem manic?
Test it. Test it in anonymous, low-stakes places first, like ordering coffee or at the grocery store checkout. Just notice the subtle but often dramatic difference in how people respond to you when you speak with slightly more volume, maybe a slightly faster pace, but not rushed, and just more physical animation. Increased energy makes you seem more magnetic. It signals passion, confidence, engagement.
Okay, test the energy boost. Got it. T.
T is for talk slower. Now, this is absolutely vital for fast talkers. People often talk quickly because they're anxious, right? Anxious to finish their thought before someone interrupts, or maybe before they forget what they were going to say. But fast talking actually causes listeners to zone out. Their brains can't keep up comfortably. Forcing yourself to consciously slow down, even if it feels agonizingly slow to you, forces other people to tune in. They have to pay closer attention.
Slow down to command attention. Counterintuitive, but makes sense. H.
H is for hands. Use expressive, open gestures. Avoid crossing your arms, classic defensive posture. Avoid hiding your hands in your pocket, signals guardedness or nervousness. Open, purposeful hand gestures dramatically improve communication clarity. And crucially, research shows they enhance your perceived credibility. Gestures help people process what you're saying.
Okay. Smile, energy, talk slower, hands, leaves eye.
I is for eye contact. This is so important. The most socially fluent people, they practice a rhythm. It's not a constant stare. It's look, connect, look away for just a moment, maybe as you gather your thoughts, and then come back, connect again. This rhythm builds rapport without becoming overwhelming or creepy. We actually recommend the eye contact challenge. Just try holding eye contact for literally a second longer than you normally would in brief interactions. Paying for coffee, checking out groceries.
Just a second longer.
Yeah. You need to pay attention to that subtle difference, though. Holding eye contact for that extra second, it builds rapport. It signals intimacy, trust. Staring without a break, without that look-away moment. As we've noted, that creates severe discomfort. It can unfortunately make you look predatory or just socially awkward. Mastering that fine line, that rhythm, is crucial for signaling connection, not confrontation.
Okay, so what does this all look like when we put it together? When we practice the intentional listening, the energetic presence from SETHI, the practiced inner game, what happens? It means you start to become, well, effortlessly charming. And these charming people, they aren't perfect robots executing techniques. They've simply internalized these systems. They operate by a set of unspoken rules that just make them magnetic.
Exactly. These rules aren't rigid commands. They represent the synthesis of technique, where conscious effort has gradually turned into intuitive habit. And the goal is to enhance your natural personality, not to feel like pretense or manipulation.
Let's go through them. Rule 1, listen more than they speak.
This is the absolute essence of active listening in action, isn't it? Charming people understand, intuitively or consciously, that people enjoy talking about themselves far more than they enjoy listening to others. They are genuinely interested in you, the other person. They're not just politely waiting for their turn to jump back in with their own story.
Rule 2. Remember small details.
Yes. Charm is fundamentally based on making people feel seen. Truly seen and valued. Genuinely charming people often have this knack for remembering tiny biographical data points. A colleague's spouse's name, maybe, their preferred type of coffee, a small hobby they mentioned months ago. And the magic happens when you reintroduce that detail later. Hey, how was that Agatha Christie novel you were reading a while back? That simple act shows you truly value them, not just the work information they provide. You value them as a whole person. And you can train this. Use mental tagging. Or just jot down quick notes immediately after a conversation to help your retention.
Smart. Rule 3. Aren't afraid to show their flaws.
They embrace imperfection. It makes them relatable, human. That constant effort to appear absolutely perfect. It's exhausting for you and it's distancing for others. If you make a mistake, you serve slightly burnt food at a dinner party, you fumble an introduction, just laugh it off. Authenticity is far more charming than forced perfection. By admitting a small flaw or a mistake, you basically grant permission for others around you to be imperfect too, and that builds immediate trust and ease.
Rule 4. Respect others' opinions.
Yes. Charming people are masterful navigators of disagreement. They understand that you can respect a person's unique perspective, you can acknowledge their intelligence, even if you fundamentally disagree with their views. The discussion stays focused on the idea, never on belittling the person holding the idea. It's about being firm, maybe, on your position, but without being hostile to the individual, finding common ground where possible.
Rule 5. Use positive body language.
This ties back to SETHI, doesn't it? They consciously maintain open postures. They lean in slightly to show engagement. They use those expressive hands we talked about. They ensure their eye contact follows that comfortable rhythm, sustained but not invasive. When your nonverbal cues radiate openness and confidence, it enhances your perceived credibility and appeal. It proves your words and your underlying feelings are aligned.
Rule 6. Offer genuine compliments.
We talked about this in the game section, but it's absolutely a core rule of charm. The compliments must be sincere, they need to be specific, and ideally they focus on things people have some control over: their effort, their judgment, their taste, their style, not just their innate looks or sheer luck. A genuine compliment on how a colleague skillfully navigated a particularly difficult client negotiation, that can strengthen a relationship far more effectively than any generic praise like, "good job."
And finally, Rule 7. Be authentic.
This underpins absolutely everything. Charm is not manipulation. It cannot be. If you are practicing these skills purely instrumentally, just to gain leverage or trick people, people will feel that lack of sincerity eventually. It comes across. True charm is the ability to be completely comfortable in your own skin and to allow your unique, genuine personality to shine through, enhanced and supported by practiced social skill.
Okay, those 7 rules provide a great synthesis.
Yeah.
Now, how do we apply these skills in really high-pressure moments, specifically difficult conversations?
Right. Psychologist Dr. Albert Bernstein talks about this. He proposes a brilliant but really counterintuitive trick for those moments when tension is high, maybe you're feeling attacked or defensive.
Okay, what's the trick?
The goal is always to stay calm yourself and reduce the overall tension, right? The trick is to talk less and listen more.
Talk less. When you feel attacked,
Yeah.
that feels counterintuitive. My instinct would be to defend myself, explain my position.
Exactly. That's why it's counterintuitive. When people feel attacked or accused, their immediate instinct is to defend, to explain, to justify. But explaining, in that heated moment, it often comes across as just a veiled form of fighting back, which predictably escalates the tension. Instead of launching into your explanation, you are much, much better off asking fair, open-ended questions. And defaulting to silence more often, let them talk more.
So instead of, let me explain why I did that, you might ask.
You might ask something like, okay, can you help me understand what specifically concerns you about that decision? Or what outcome were you hoping for here? You literally force yourself to slow the conversation down. And you do that internally by asking yourself that key empathetic question. Why are they saying this right now? What's their underlying need? Their fear, their frustration, their desired outcome? This empathetic questioning allows you to consider their perspective instead of just reacting emotionally to their words. Slowing down the conversation helps you keep your cool, it helps you read the situation more accurately, and very often it reveals the true underlying issue that actually needs to be addressed, which might be different from what they first said. Hashtag outshow gobes.
Wow. Okay, we have covered a lot today. We've moved all the way from the psychological roots of active listening, going back to Rogers and Farson in the 50s, all the way through to really practical, hands-on implementation steps. Things like the 60 seconds game, the compliments game, that SETHI technique checklist. You really should now have a comprehensive step-by-step action plan for starting to develop genuine social mastery.
Absolutely. And the true reward for putting in this dedication, this practice, it isn't just about surface level popularity or, winning more arguments. It's about genuine connection. It's about better professional outcomes. It's really about leading a richer, more fulfilling life overall. Remember that core principle from communication accommodation theory. Increased social alignment matching others subtly leads directly to more favorable social outcomes. You tend to get back what you signal out there.
So as you go out and start putting these skills into practice this week, maybe think about the people you admire socially, the ones whose conversations just seem to flow effortlessly. Their conversations flow, often because of subtle, maybe even unconscious synchronization. They might be matching vocal speed slightly, using similar slang or terminology, echoing your emotional tone without even realizing it, knowing that this synchronization signals trust and builds rapport. Here's a final thought. What small linguistic detail, perhaps mirroring a specific unique word choice someone uses, or consciously aligning with the speed of their speech for a moment, will you consciously introduce in your next conversation, just as an experiment? To signal trust and instantly boost that feeling of rapport, go put these skills into practice.